Welcome to another episode of Mission Compliance, Unleashing Growth Potential for Defense Contractors. On today's episode, we discuss strategies and methods for successfully navigating the regulatory landscape. In the fast-paced world of defense contracting, staying abreast of changing laws, regulations, and guidelines is paramount. We'll offer valuable insights into how to proactively prepare your organizations to tackle new requirements, and ensuring compliance remains a core strength. Join us as we explore the challenges and opportunities faced by compliance professionals in the defense sector. Discover the top resources they rely on to stay informed, the innovative technologies that aid them in their endeavors, and the collaborative efforts required to foster a culture of compliance throughout the organization. Whether you're a seasoned compliance officer or an aspiring professional in the field, this episode is a must-listen for anyone seeking to excel in managing cyber and information security risks within the defense industry. Let's dive in and uncover the strategies that empower organizations to confidently navigate the complex regulatory landscape and thrive in an ever-changing world. Let's rock. We're joined once again today by Mike Frieder, President of On-Call Compliance Solutions and a CMMC certified professional assessor. So Mike, first of all, thanks for joining us again.
Hey, absolutely. Always a pleasure, Roman.
So today we're talking about regulations. Last time we talked about the role of the compliance officer within the defense industry. This week, we're diving a bit deeper into that and looking at the minefield of regulations that can sometimes be a challenge to navigate. So, how do compliance officers and executives in the defense sector keep track of the ever-changing landscape of laws and regulations with things like NIST, SP 800-171, and CMMC having updates frequently?
Man, this is a phenomenal question. It's a question that we often get asked because we're highly unique in the industry in that our entire focus is on compliance in this particular area of compliance. And it is fast-paced, it is changing. And I think that to understand that change, I think is to understand, number one, we are constantly being bombarded with news, and half of that is fake news put out there by other people who are marketing and selling in this industry, who just sort of recycle old stuff and make it into new stuff. And that's very confusing because, if you're not attuned to looking at this and really understanding it to the depths that we do, you would think that there's quite literally new stuff happening daily with this, and that's not quite true. To kind of summarize, NIST SP 800-171 has essentially been out since 2016-17, right? So it came out right at the end of 16, kind of was more or less put in law first of 17. So that makes this about a 6-year-old law. And then NIST itself really only has 2 revisions. There's NIST revision 1, NIST revision 2 for SP 800-171. They are talking about NIST revision 3 that comes out potentially as soon as Q1 of next year. So what I would advocate, is number one, we do watch the news like everybody else does. We do have certain members of our staff who are in touch with some of the authors of NIST SP 800-171. So frankly, we have, I think, pretty limited inside access to some of the folks that wrote this document and their insights and their thoughts. We certainly are attending cyber AB town halls every month, much like anybody really should, to stay on top of things, because that's a reasonable forum. But we're also paying a lot of attention to Department of Defense information flows that we're a part of as a cybersecurity company. There is an entire office of the CMMC in the Pentagon. And so there's a lot of information that flows out of there, and not everybody has easy access to that. We as a company focused on keeping people safe from cyber attack have information directly from CISA and some other organizations around the Department of Defense that issue those kinds of sort of cybersecurity warnings that occasionally mention CMMC and DFARS and NIST and things like that. So again, I think that you have several people on our team who are experts and practitioners in the field, and they are, part of their responsibilities here are to keep up with the news and to keep up with whatever the latest developments are. And oftentimes another huge part of our job is to verify that this is actually real information, depending upon what the source is, with people in the government. So we do have a little bit more mature system that we are using than just sort of waiting and reacting to what's going on in the marketplace. How does that help our clients? Well, I'll tell you that we take a very pragmatic approach with our clients. We have been working hard to educate them on what is real and what is not real and what they have to worry about and what they don't have to worry about. For instance, we are not concerned about CMMC right now. We are concerned about DFARS and NIST because when you meet those requirements, CMMC certification should be no big deal. That's what it's supposed to be. But a lot of companies in the marketplace will have you believing that CMMC is this big extra heavy lift and that it's complicated to understand. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. And we continue to verify that because things could evolve and that could always change. They could add additional requirements. They did that in CMMC 1.0. We are the first people out on YouTube to bring a certified third-party assessor on the air on YouTube Live, and we had a sit-down interview with that person. So we pull in other industry experts. I will tell you that we have people on the team now who are certified third-party assessors, certified experts, so CMMC CAs or CCAs, CMMC certified assessors. So we have those on staff. I'm one of them. And, I'll tell you that another source of information is, the CyberAB's training, right? So we've taken training courses and we have upped our knowledge level. And we are just generally speaking in a position where we focus on what the latest developments are. We filter out the stuff that doesn't matter and we bring the stuff that does matter to our clients. I think another thing is we have an intensive marketing department here. That marketing department is charged with keeping our clients up to date. It's awesome. We have some unbelievably intelligent people there who are very good at disseminating information, fact checking, and actually figuring out how to simplify that information to the point where it's, the updates that you really need are as easy as a simple weekly email or a newsletter. And so, that's another huge piece of our program is to ultimately make sure that we are in real time on a weekly basis delivering good, solid compliance advice to our clients. And all I can tell you, Roman, is I don't know how other companies do it. It is a major effort, but we've got a serious team here, and we are geared towards this one thing. This one thing is just so very vital and important to our clients that we just considered our duty to keep them up to date.
You'll see on the wall behind me if you're watching us on YouTube. I tried this last week. It didn't work out. It says compliance right there. It's what we do. I did it right this time. It says compliance right there. It's what we do. We know what we're doing. Mike knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a long time. So as we said in the opening, the landscape is ever changing, and those changes can sometimes throw a wrench into certain plans a business may have. You may have touched on this a little bit in your first answer, so feel free to dig down a little bit more. What strategies do compliance officers use to assess the impact of new regulations on their organizations and implement necessary changes efficiently?
Yeah, great question. I think from my perspective, the actions of a compliance officer are built into what is legally mandated in NIST SP 10171. Anytime there is a major update that can affect systems, then we consider that to be an incident. And then the incident goes through an incident response procedure. So, I don't want to overcomplicate this because a lot of people will. Ultimately, the reality of systematic and programmatic changes should be built into your incident response plan so that you have a defined way, because it's not like there's going to be one more change. There's going to be constant changes, especially over the next few years as this program really matures quickly. And as a result, I think you just have to understand that, you better have what to do when those changes roll out. And you better have somebody who's monitoring what those, when those updates happen. You better have that person either on staff or, through our virtual compliance officer service. We have an amazing way where we keep up with it for you. And, you only pay sort of a fraction of the cost of that. So somebody's got to be keeping up with it. Somebody's got to be creating those incidents and incident tickets. Somebody's got to be working the tickets, and somebody's got to be making the changes, and someone's got to go verify the changes got made. And then we've got to analyze, the security impact in there as well. All of those are literally NIST controls. And so I think that that's built into our day-to-day procedures for managing our clients and it should be built in the day-to-day procedures for how you run your company. So great question.
Hey, absolutely. And we touched a little bit last week on the fact that sometimes a business may not have a dedicated compliance officer, or they may need more help to get their operations on track. So they may look for outside compliance services like ours. It's on the wall there. I won't do the point again, but it's there. Um, are are th- are there specific compliance training and educational programs in place to keep employees informed and updated on the latest regulations?
You know what's really terrible is there's not. I mean, so there's this thing called Project Spectrum from the DoD, and what they put out is they put out essentially a basic cybersecurity 101 course, and I think that they've really just, they've really done a poor job with it. And the reason I say that is because you have this thing called Project Spectrum that advertises that it's somewhere loosely affiliated with NIST SP 800-171, but it's not. It doesn't walk someone through getting compliant for defense work. So we've found numerous clients who go through Project Spectrum and then at the very, like, months and months later go, wait a minute, I'm not in the right place here. And then we discover that Project Spectrum is just a basic cybersecurity and cyber hygiene program, and it's not going to get you qualified for defense work. Yikes. So I am disappointed by that. I think it's really tough. I think that, if you want guidance as a defense company on being DFARS, NIST SP 800-171 compliant, and ultimately achieving CMMC certification, you need to look to an expert. You need to look to somebody like us who has, a specialty in this area. And frankly, without finding, and by the way, I don't mean just like an IT company that hung a shingle out there saying that, they're a compliance company. I mean like someone who this is what they eat, sleep, live, and breathe. This is what we do. And it's the only thing we do. And I think that's where a compliance officer really comes in, is to protect you from the negative consequences of not being compliant. If you don't have that, there's a very high likelihood that there's going to be some big penalties headed your way, or at the very least, a lot of opportunity and work that you're missing out on, which is way worse than the penalties, right? I mean, opportunity cost is a very real thing in business. The minimal amount of money that you invest into a compliance officer or a virtual compliance officer with us, the minimal amount of money it takes for us to help you get compliant, man, all I can tell you is that is small potatoes compared to what happens if you don't follow through. And I think that's a really tremendous lesson to, that we've watched clients learn before. And that's why we created the virtual compliance officer program, is to have somebody to hold those feet to the fire and actually get it done. And boy, let me tell you what, it feels good when you get there and you're like, hey, look, all our temporary deficiencies are solved. We're compliant. We crossed the finish line. It's a great feeling.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Mike, it's time to get your goofy shoes on, because every week we do one of these silly questions, and as we found out last week, just because it's silly doesn't mean it's irrelevant. So let's strap in and see what happens. And this one's funny. Have you ever had a dream that you were being chased by giant floating regulations in like a bizarre compliance nightmare? I told you it
uh,
was good. I told you it was good.
Well, I can sincerely tell you that fortunately my dreams are not filled with being chased by compliance nightmares. It's very interesting. I don't really dream a whole lot. I think
Really?
I'm a pretty deep sleeper. I do, I'm a pretty big exercise guy. I work out about twice a day. I race cars, so I'm usually in pretty good physical shape for that. Um, and boy, let me tell you, when my head hits that pillow, man, I'm out. I'm out deep, and I'm out for as long as it takes. So,
Man, I wish it was like that. I'll let our listeners or our viewers in on something about me is something that I do. I'm the opposite. I dream super vividly all the time, and sometimes it's not the best thing in the world, because one of the things that I do in my off time is I like to write scripts for different things and just have some fun. And I have in the past had dreams, woken up and written them down, like in scene format. Like that's happened to me. So this sounds like a dream that I might have. You know, I talked in a previous episode about a dream I had where I was being chased through a giant furniture store. And I'm not talking like IKEA, I'm talking like 10-foot tall chairs by 10-foot tall people for a regular sized box of Cheez-Its that I had. Like these are dreams that I have had in my life. So
Right.
it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that you might have compliance nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, I might have, I think that there was a period of time when I had some client nightmares, but I think we tend to get rid of those pretty quickly around here. So, no, again, I think maybe it comes from my perception, and maybe this is a great reminder for the audience, right? There's this perception a lot of times when we walk in, especially with smaller organizations, and they have this big negative connotation. They're like, yeah, we had to hire you guys. We had this no good, awful, rotten compliance thing that landed on my head, and we need help getting through it. And I think to myself, there's a reason why the government has legally mandated this. And the reason is because it's necessary. And so I don't look at regulations, well, this regulation anyway, as negative. I think it's positive. So I don't know if I would really envision myself being chased by it, but I'll tell you what I would do is I think regulations and I would be friends. I think I would have an appreciation for a regulation in my dream that would keep me safe. And I have to tell you guys, if you're out there in the audience and you're kind of wondering, so we manage technology for hundreds and hundreds of companies. And I think one of the reasons why we really fell in love with this standard is because we lived through the beginnings of ransomware. I mean, we really had some nasty things happen to clients, and we had to fight through and remediate that. And it's not fun. It's really not fun. NIST has allowed us to manage thousands and thousands of endpoints and do so in such a way that we sleep good at night. We don't worry about cyber attack. I'm not going to tell you we don't worry about it. Trust me, I've got a whole security team that definitely worries about it. But the reality is pretty cut and dry. Uh, it's kept us safe. It's kept our clients safe. And so, I guess dreams originate from all kinds of different sources, but usually when I do dream, it's typically because I have a fear of something. I don't fear these regulations. I don't lose sleep over them. I, in fact, am quite appreciative of the fact that the government has spent, our tax dollars on developing a way to keep us safe. And I even love the fact that they are really trying to actively enforce this. And that's another thing, is enforcement has been dramatically stepped up. So I don't know. I suppose if I did have a dream, it probably wouldn't be a nightmare. It'd probably be a pretty good dream. And I think I'd wake up and be happy the regulations were there. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, they're here to keep you safe. It's nothing different than an airbag in a car accident.
Hey, there you go. That's a good analogy. It's funny that you said like you think that regulations and you would be friends. There's an old comedy bit from Jeff Foxworthy, and he said he was talking to a dream interpreter whose job it was to listen to people's dreams and tell them, what it meant. And he was talking to this guy, and this guy said, "You know what? Next time you have that dream where you're being chased by something," he said, just stop, turn around, and make friends with it." And Jeff Foxworthy goes, "Dude, I'm not directing my dream. I can't just do that." That's what it reminded me of. But
What's interesting is, I studied this when I was younger. I had a fascination with the concept of lucid dreaming. You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it before, but tell us more.
So lucid dreaming is this interesting dream state where you're not really quite fully asleep, and there is an ability to consciously control your dreams. And again, I'm not a sleep expert, but I think that there are different layers and levels of sleep, right? So you have your REM sleep, where that's intensive, restive, reparative sleep. But then you have sort of a lesser level of sleep where you're kind of half conscious, half not.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm most familiar with that state from taking red-eye flights from California back to time to time. And so you're not like fully deep in sleep. And there is an ability to actually, if as long as you sort of have an intention of it before you go to sleep, to control your dreams. And I was always fascinated with that kind of thing, right? The ability to exist in a world that maybe didn't have some of the restrictions that this real world doesn't have. I just thought that was like the coolest thing for a little while. And I tried to do it. I think they had some like white noise that could help you get into that lucid state. But there is somewhat of an ability to control dreams, but I also think it depends on, before you hit that dream state, Did you have an intention to dream? Did you have an intention of what you wanted to happen in the dream? Did you some point in the dream test that it was a dream and not reality? And then did you realize during the dream that you could control what was going on? I just thought that was like the coolest thing. I think I maybe got it to work like once or something, but
I don't think I've ever been to the point where I'd be like, okay, I'm going to dream and I'm going to dream about this. But that is a very interesting concept for sure. Yeah, especially for someone like me that dreams so vividly, all like like dreams in like full like movies. Like it's just but yeah, that is is how we got onto this topic after all that is quite funny. But on that note, that wraps up another great episode of Mission Compliance. We hope that our discussion today has provided you with valuable insights, practical strategies, and inspiration to navigate the ever-evolving world of defense. We'd like to extend our appreciation once again to Mike for joining us. Thanks, Mike.
always a pleasure, Roman. Maybe the audience will try controlling their own dreams from here.
I know this will turn into. Did you listen to that dream episode of Mission Compliance? No, 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 that's not what it was about. Listen again. But the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to continue exploring these topics or dreaming or whatever and connect with us on our social media channels. Share your thoughts and ask questions and engage with fellow listeners by using the hashtag Mission Compliance Podcast. That's right. Mission Compliance Podcast, not lucid dreaming. That's a different hashtag. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform to be the first to know when new episodes like this one are released. And we truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review the show. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you thought-provoking episodes and high-quality content. Join us again on the next episode of Mission Compliance as we delve further into the dynamic world of defense, security, industry innovation, and probably not dreaming. Until then, take care, stay informed, sleep tight, and make compliance your mission. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.